Hello and welcome. You're listening to the PsycHope Self-Help podcast, a space for women where psychology illuminates paths to healing, hope, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Jennifer McManus, a clinical psychologist, and I'll be your host. Each episode, we'll explore a different way to use psychology to enhance emotional wellness. Hope you enjoy the show. It's episode 42. Welcome or welcome back. Either way, it's so good to have you here. For our listeners in the Northern Hemisphere, sure hope you're having an amazing autumn, or as we say where I'm based in Florida, happy fall, y'all. Now, I'm really excited to bring today's episode to you for a few reasons. First, and most importantly, I got a lot of feedback from listeners about episode 40 that was called Sunshine and Serotonin, the mental health benefits of time in nature. Specifically, people were really interested in learning more about the connection of serotonin to things like stress relief and well-being, and if there were other ways, in addition to spending time in nature, that could help with creating optimal serotonin levels. So anytime I have the opportunity to oblige listeners' requests, that's a win for me. Today, we're not only going to revisit the topic of serotonin and our mental health, but we'll also discuss dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. Researchers and educators use the term DOSE as an acronym that stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, 4 key neurotransmitters and hormones that play significant roles in promoting positive emotions, happiness, and overall well-being. Another reason I'm so eager to share this episode with you is because I really love when we get to explore the intersection of psychology with other fields, and harnessing happy hormones is definitely one of those topics. I'll come back to the intersection of psychology and neurobiology in just a moment. But first, I have to tell you the final reason I'm really looking forward to this episode is because I created a couple totally free resources to accompany this episode. We'll get more into how to use these resources as we go along, but as a quick preview, you can download 2 handouts that will help you personalize and implement the information we discuss. There's a dose checklist plus an inspiration sheet of fall-themed activities that can help you increase these happy hormones. You can download these 2 handouts at psychope.com/dose. And again, they're totally free. Just consider them my gifts to you in hopes that they enhance the helpfulness of this episode. Again, they're at psychope.com/dose, or you can just click the link that will be there for you in the show notes. All right. So back to how this episode lets us highlight the intersection of psychology and neurobiology. When learning about psychology, it quickly becomes clear that human behavior is complex and more often than not has multiple underlying and interconnected causes. For example, we can understand the way we feel as being influenced by the thoughts we think, but also because we're experiencing different levels of these happy neurotransmitters. Understanding the neurobiological bases of behavior is key to fully understanding how psychology can inspire emotional wellness. That being said, neurobiology is an allied field, but not my area of advanced education or specialized training. So my role on this episode will be to provide a brief overview of these happy hormones through the lens of psychology and more specifically in terms of supporting stress relief. If you're wanting a more comprehensive exploration of the dose hormones, then I definitely recommend you check out the work of Dr. Loretta Bruning, founder of the Inner Mammal Institute and author of Habits of a Happy Brain. She has a YouTube channel and her own podcast where she freely shares helpful information with her listeners. I also want to say that even though I'm only giving a brief overview of the dose hormones and their relevance to stress relief, the intersection of psychology and neurobiology can get pretty detailed and complicated at times. I'm going to simplify it all as best I can, though. Feel free to skip to the second half of the episode if you just want to get right to the practical tips. Some people really appreciate understanding the why or the mechanics that underlie stress relief coping strategies, so that's why I'm sharing quite a few details first. I'll make sure that there are timestamps for you in the show notes so you can skip ahead to the relevant portions if that's more your preference. Now, at this point, you may have noticed me refer to dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin as hormones and also neurotransmitters. So before we get into the details of how to get your dose of stress relief, let's clarify what these hormones or neurotransmitters really are. The reason you've heard me going back and forth with different terms is because the most accurate way to describe dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins is as neurotransmitters and hormones because they can function as both depending on their role and location in the body. A quick bit of knowledge or reminder, as the case may be, neurotransmitters are chemical messengers in the brain that help cells communicate, sending signals that affect mood, thoughts, and actions, while hormones are chemical messengers in the body that control various functions like growth, mood, and energy by sending signals between cells and organs. So let me give you a breakdown of each of the dose neurotransmitters and hormones to better understand why we use both these terms. Dopamine, often referred to as the reward or motivation hormone, is best described as a neurotransmitter that also acts as a hormone. Dopamine is primarily known as a neurotransmitter in the brain, where it plays a role in reward, motivation, and pleasure. In the body, it can act as a hormone, influencing cardiovascular and renal systems. Oxytocin, known as the love or bonding hormone, is best described as a hormone with neurotransmitter-like functions in the brain. Oxytocin is mainly a hormone produced by the hypothalamus and released by the pituitary gland and is associated with bonding, social connections, and childbirth. In the brain, it acts like a neurotransmitter to promote feelings of trust and bonding. Serotonin, often called the mood stabilizer, is best described as a neurotransmitter that also has hormonal effects. Serotonin primarily functions as a neurotransmitter that stabilizes mood, sleep, and digestion. It also has roles in the gut and bloodstream where it can influence bodily functions more like a hormone. Endorphins are best described as neuropeptides that act as both neurotransmitters and hormones. Endorphins are neuropeptides, which are small protein-like molecules released by the central nervous system and pituitary gland. They reduce pain and promote feelings of pleasure, acting both as neurotransmitters in the brain and as hormones affecting the body. So now we know the terms neurotransmitters and hormones are both accurate for describing how these chemicals influence mood, behavior, and bodily functions. And while we're at it, let me just say, you'll also hear me refer to dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin as chemicals as well. Before we dive into harnessing our happy hormones for stress relief, I'm going to give you a quick overview about what triggers the release of these neurotransmitters and hormones and what we experience as a result. Keep in mind, neurobiology is rooted in evolutionary theory, so the release of these neurotransmitters and hormones is all about promoting our survival. Dopamine, the rewards hormone, is released when you experience pleasure, anticipate a reward, or achieve a goal. It creates a sense of satisfaction and motivates you to continue pursuing activities that make you feel good. You can increase dopamine through goal setting, celebrating small wins, and engaging in creative activities. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is associated with feelings of connection, trust, and intimacy. It's released through positive social interactions, physical touch, and acts of kindness. Oxytocin enhances feelings of affection and reduces stress. Ways to boost oxytocin include spending time with loved ones, hugging, or even practicing mindfulness and self-compassion. Serotonin, the mood stabilizer, regulates mood, appetite, sleep, and digestion. Higher serotonin levels are associated with feelings of well-being and happiness. Exposure to sunlight, physical activity, and positive thinking are natural ways to boost serotonin. Spending time outdoors, eating healthy foods rich in tryptophan like nuts and seeds, and practicing gratitude are also ways to enhance serotonin. Endorphins, the pain reliever hormone, are released during physical activity, particularly exercise, and help reduce pain and stress. They create feelings of euphoria, which you may have heard referred to as the runner's high. You can increase endorphins through exercise, laughter, and even activities like listening to music or eating dark chocolate. Together, these hormones make up the dose of happy hormones, and when naturally elevated, they can promote better mental and emotional health, helping us to reduce stress and improve mood. Let's get more focused now with these dose of happy hormones and their roles in stress relief. To do so, we have to consider the dynamics of cortisol and adrenaline, two key hormones in our stress response systems, and how they interact with the body's fight or flight and rest and digest systems. Experts in neurobiology and psychology suggest that a balance between stress-activating hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, and the stress-relieving dose chemicals is essential for maintaining mental and physical health. So, let's review how these interactions work. The fight or flight response is the body's natural reaction to perceived threats. When we feel stress, our nervous system triggers this survival mode, preparing us to either confront or escape the threat. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, is released by the adrenal glands when the brain perceives a threat, such as a danger or a stressful situation. Cortisol prepares the body for action by raising blood sugar levels for energy, suppressing non-essential functions like digestion, and enhancing short-term memory. Prolonged exposure to cortisol can prevent the production and release of the dose chemicals. Chronic stress, leading to sustained cortisol elevation, often disrupts dopamine and serotonin, contributing to low motivation and mood instability, which are linked to burnout and depression. Adrenaline, or epinephrine, is a hormone and neurotransmitter that works in tandem with cortisol. It rapidly prepares the body for action, increasing heart rate, dilating airways, and directing blood flow to essential muscles. Adrenaline's effects are immediate, sparking physical responses so we can fight or flee. Adrenaline's effects are usually short-lived, but frequent adrenaline spikes due to ongoing stress can diminish the body's sensitivity to reward pathways, that's dopamine, and disrupt emotional regulation, that's serotonin, leading to a state of heightened tension and anxiety. In a chronic fight or flight state, the brain's reward pathways become underactive, limiting dopamine, serotonin, and endorphin release. This state can also dampen the production of oxytocin, as stress inhibits social bonding and makes it harder to trust others or feel secure. Without a counterbalance of dose chemicals, we may find ourselves locked in a cycle of high cortisol and adrenaline, leading to physical and mental health concerns, including fatigue, weakened immune functioning, and mood disorders. Luckily, we have also evolved to have the relaxation response, the body's natural antidote to the fight or flight response. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body, lowers cortisol levels, and promotes the restoration of dose chemicals. So let's go through our dose of happy hormones again, this time with a focus on how they support us with relaxation. Dopamine provides a sense of pleasure from goal attainment and positive anticipation. And even small acts like completing a puzzle or cooking a meal can release dopamine. When we engage in low-stress, goal-setting, or creative activities, dopamine counters the effects of cortisol by shifting the brain's focus from stress to reward. Dopamine's role in anticipating pleasure can keep the mind engaged in hopeful, positive actions, counteracting the apathy or lack of motivation that chronic stress can cause. Oxytocin plays a crucial role in activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Physical touch, social bonding, and trust-building activities all release oxytocin, creating a sense of calm and safety. This reduces cortisol and mitigates the fight-or-flight response by fostering connection and trust. Oxytocin helps us feel secure, which naturally soothes the body's stress response and enables us to relax and recharge more effectively. Serotonin's role in mood regulation and emotional stability makes it essential for maintaining a calm mind. Exposure to sunlight, regular sleep, and practicing gratitude can all elevate serotonin, promoting mood stability and improving resilience against stress. Serotonin also directly influences the parasympathetic nervous system, keeping our mood steady, which prevents the highs and lows triggered by stress. By stabilizing mood, serotonin makes it easier to remain calm and composed in potentially stressful situations, further reducing cortisol. Known as the body's natural painkillers, endorphins are released through activities like exercise, laughter, and even eating comforting foods. Endorphins not only relieve pain, but also induce a sense of euphoria, which can momentarily distance us from stress. The pleasurable effects of endorphins can counterbalance the effects of chronic pain and physical discomfort, which often accompany periods of high stress. Endorphins can help shift the brain away from focusing on stress, promoting a calm, relaxed state. I hope all this information is helping you feel optimistic about ways to reduce stress by harnessing your dose of happy hormones. That being said, I do need to give a little caution here. Coping with stress through the dose chemicals can sometimes become too much of a good thing and involve unhealthy methods. Recognizing this allows for more intentional choices to manage stress constructively and avoid habits that may offer only temporary relief but have long-term downsides. The dose checklist that you can download from psychope.com/dose will help you to reflect on the types of healthy and unhealthy coping with dose hormones you've been doing and brainstorm how to bring more healthy dose coping strategies into your life. Here's some highlights for you on both healthy and unhealthy coping strategies for each dose chemical. For dopamine, which remember is all about motivation and reward, healthy coping is going to involve goal setting and achievement. So, setting small, realistic goals and working toward them can release dopamine as you make progress, providing a sense of accomplishment. Healthy coping through dopamine can also involve creative hobbies. Activities like painting, cooking, writing, or other creative pursuits engage the brain in a rewarding way, providing a dopamine boost through novelty and personal expression. Learning new skills is another healthy way to get a dopamine hit. So trying new activities or learning new skills like a language, instrument, or sport offer consistent dopamine release as you achieve a small milestone. Now, we also have to be careful of unhealthy coping to increase dopamine levels. Take substance use, for example. Drugs, alcohol, or nicotine can create temporary dopamine spikes, but often lead to dependency as the brain seeks repeated stimulation. Then we have digital overuse. This is when excessive use of social media, video games, or binge watching TV can lead to quick dopamine boosts, but can also promote addictive cycles, reduce motivation, and contribute to stress in the long run. We also need to be aware of the risks involved with compulsive shopping or eating. Seeking dopamine from shopping or overeating can lead to unhealthy habits, debt, and weight issues, creating a short-lived dopamine high followed by regret or guilt that can really linger. For oxytocin, which is all about bonding and connection, healthy coping might look like spending quality time with loved ones. Connecting meaningfully with friends or family, especially in person, releases oxytocin and reinforces feelings of belonging and safety. Pet interaction is another way to release oxytocin in a healthy manner. Playing with or caring for pets can increase oxytocin as physical affection and trust building foster connection and comfort. We can also consider those random acts of kindness. Engaging in compassionate actions like volunteering or helping someone boosts oxytocin, reduces stress, and provides a sense of purpose and social bonding. Now, here are your cautions of unhealthy coping with oxytocin. The first one is over-reliance on social validation. Constantly seeking approval or validation from others, especially on social media, may lead to dependency on external affirmation, causing stress if this validation is lacking. People-pleasing or codependency is another caution when it comes to unhealthy coping with oxytocin. Sacrificing your personal boundaries to maintain connections can create unhealthy relationships and reinforce stress, as it may lead to emotional exhaustion. Excessive physical clinginess is another example of unhealthy coping with oxytocin. Relying excessively on physical contact to manage stress can result in an unhealthy dependency that may strain relationships over time. For serotonin, which is all about mood stabilization and confidence, healthy coping might involve having a gratitude practice. Reflecting on positive aspects of life, even small ones, increases serotonin levels, helping to reframe thoughts and improve mood. Sunlight exposure is another way of engaging in healthy coping with serotonin. Spending time outdoors in natural sunlight increases serotonin, especially during morning hours, which is essential for mood regulation and stress relief. Exercise and physical activity is one more example of healthy coping with serotonin. Regular physical activity boosts serotonin naturally and has long-term benefits for mood, energy, and resilience against stress. We must also consider unhealthy coping with serotonin, like comfort eating or sugar consumption. Eating sugary or carb-heavy foods can cause temporary serotonin boosts, but often leads to cycles of cravings, energy crashes, and even weight gain, which may exacerbate stress. We also need to look out for isolation to avoid stress. Although alone time can be healthy in moderation, prolonged isolation can reduce serotonin and worsen feelings of loneliness or depression, leading to a vicious cycle of low mood and low motivation. Constant comparison to others is another caution when it comes to serotonin. Habitual comparison to others, especially on social media, can lower serotonin by diminishing self-worth, causing stress instead of fostering self-assurance. And last, we have endorphins, which are all about natural pain relief and euphoria. Healthy coping with endorphins starts with exercise, especially moderate intensity exercise. Physical activities like running, biking, or yoga release endorphins and reduce stress, improving mood and resilience over time. Laughter and playfulness are also healthy ways to release endorphins. Engaging in activities that make you laugh, like watching comedies or joking with friends, is a great endorphin booster and promotes relaxation. Creative outlets and music are also connected to endorphin release. Playing an instrument, dancing, or listening to upbeat music can release endorphins, offering a positive, natural mood boost. Some cautions about unhealthy coping with endorphins include overeating or eating for comfort. While food can release endorphins, relying on comfort eating or overeating as a primary stress relief can lead to guilt, weight gain, and more stress over time. Over-exercising or adrenaline seeking are additional cautions here. While moderate exercise is beneficial, excessive exercise or adrenaline-seeking activities can overwork the body, leading to burnout, injury, and added stress. Now, a final and very serious caution when it comes to endorphin release is risky or self-harming behaviors. Some people may engage in risky behaviors or self-harm to induce endorphin release. Though endorphins temporarily relieve stress, this coping mechanism is unhealthy and potentially dangerous. This is a point where I want to remind our listeners that sometimes self-help is not enough. So if you struggle with risky or self-harm behaviors, please look into getting some personalized professional support. So some key takeaways here. Healthy coping strategies engage the dose chemicals constructively, fostering resilience and long-term stress relief. In contrast, Unhealthy methods may provide quick, short-term relief, but often lead to negative consequences like addiction, stress, and emotional dependence, which can worsen overall mental health. By choosing habits that naturally support dose chemical release, such as meaningful social interactions, balanced exercise, mindful goal setting, and time in nature, people can develop lasting, healthy coping strategies to better manage stress. And the dose checklist invites you to reflect and respond so you can increase your healthy coping strategies and reduce or eliminate the unhealthy ones. You can grab your free checklist at PsycHope.com/dose. Now, before we wind down here, I do want to get you started with some practical tips for engaging in healthy coping strategies that naturally support dose chemical release. I'll give you a few general ideas and how they raise our dose levels. I'll also invite you to get your dose of fall inspiration sheet at PsycHope.com/dose. If you happen to find this episode well past the fall season, still check out that link, PsycHope.com/dose, for those free resources, because we'll be adding a dose of inspiration sheet for each season of the year. The first dose healthy coping strategy that I have for you is writing out your goals. This tip is all about dopamine. Writing down goals creates a sense of progress and motivation. And as you accomplish each step, dopamine is released, reinforcing positive feelings and keeping you motivated. The next dose healthy coping strategy I want to share is walking in green spaces. Sunlight exposure during a nature walk increases serotonin, the mood stabilizer, helping you feel calm and content. Natural light, combined with the rhythmic movement of walking, regulates mood and supports positive mental health. Similar to walking in green spaces is forest bathing. The beauty and novelty of a forest environment stimulates dopamine release. Discovering new sights, sounds, and scents in nature keeps the mind engaged and creates a sense of pleasure and reward, as dopamine is tied to the brain's reward pathways. You might also consider walking along the ocean and breathing in the fresh, salty air. This type of walk can release endorphins, the body's natural mood enhancers and pain relievers. Endorphins create a natural high, leaving you feeling revitalized and at ease. This is also a wonderful time of year to view fall leaves. The novelty and beauty of vibrant fall colors stimulate dopamine, the reward chemical. Seeing the changing leaves brings a sense of pleasure and satisfaction, especially when discovering particularly striking views, which releases dopamine, helping you to feel uplifted. Reading, especially stories that have well-developed characters with emotional depth, can foster empathy and connection, which enhances oxytocin. Identifying with characters, understanding their emotions, and experiencing their journeys can give a comforting sense of connection and even make readers feel less alone. The calming ritual of drinking tea and taking a mindful pause helps stabilize serotonin levels. Being present in the current moment, combined with the soothing warmth of the tea, promotes relaxation and peace, supporting mood balance and reducing anxiety. And the final dose of healthy coping that I want to share with you today is taking a soak in a hot tub. The heat of the water encourages muscles to relax and soothes aches, releasing endorphins, the body's natural painkillers. Endorphins help create a mild euphoric feeling, leaving you feeling refreshed, relieved of tension, and in a positive mood. You may have noticed I shared similar activities, but listed different dose hormones being impacted. That's because it's definitely possible to activate more than one happy hormone at a time with the same coping strategy. These were just some examples to help you get inspired for your dose of healthy coping for stress relief. Winding down now, I hope you enjoyed this broad overview of harnessing your happy hormones for stress relief. Be sure to head on over to PsycHope.com/dose to get your free download so you can personalize and implement the topics we explored today. Much peace till next time. The information shared on the PsycHope Self-Help podcast is done so with the understanding that it does not constitute professional help, nor is it a substitute for professional help. If you think you might benefit from more than self-help, there are resources listed in the show notes.